this is Schmidtie. This is the third installment of this series on histamine and histamine intolerance and allergies, etc. For those of you that don't know, I did triathlons. Also, something I should add, there was a time where I stopped doing triathlons so much because I wanted to get a second bachelor's degree. And I was studying electrical engineering, and actually that's when I got hit by a car, right? And eventually I went on to grad school, and then I came out to California to work. So I did triathlons. I was riding about 300 miles a week, running about 30 miles a week, and that was my life. And then I started going to school to, get the degree situation settled. And then I wasn't riding so much. I bought a car, and I wasn't riding nearly as much at that point. And years later, I decided to buy a bike when I finally started working, and I was working as an information security analyst, as a information security engineer, etc., right? And I went out for a bike ride. I went out for a 36 mile bike ride. And another caveat, I grew up in Houston, right? Half my childhood was in Houston. From the 6th grade to the 12th grade, I was in Houston. From the 4th grade to the 12th grade, I was in Texas. And I did a lot of sports there. And I also ate a lot of seafood. I also ate a lot of shrimp. If you don't know, being that close to the Gulf of Mexico, we had a lot of jumbo shrimp, right? I got introduced to a whole different type of seafood that we eat in Texas that's you don't really get anywhere else. So I grew up eating shrimp. Nothing for me, nothing novel about that. So anyway, back to the story. I went out and I rode 36 miles. The next day, I come home. Next day, I go out and I get lunch and I buy shrimp, right? I buy this shrimp from this food chain, and I'm at home and I'm eating the shrimp, and I feel this tingling sensation all over me, right? I feel it in my chest and it's bubbling up, right? So I don't know what to do. I feel this bubbling up, and I'm feeling it, and it feels hot, and I'm like letting it go, and then it gets really, really hot, and it's getting really, really dangerous, and it's feeling, it's not hot sauce, and it feels like this really bad tingling. And before that, I had been at company events where I ate ceviche, and I felt the same thing, but it was really mild. It was like I felt tingling, and then afterwards I felt like I had a cold, and I had a lot of mucus built up in my sinuses. But this time it was distinctly hotter outside, and I felt a lot more tingling sensation. So I deduce what it is. It's like this inflammation trying to get rid of. And I was feeling the tingling, and I was continuing to eat the shrimp. And so I decided to go to a pharmacy or a drugstore, right? And I'm waiting in line, and I'm deciding to buy. I bought this Pedialyte, right? So it's all I know is Pedialyte. It works. And as a triathlete, when I would get dehydrated and have to go to the hospital, they would give me an IV, and they would give me chipped ice, and then also they would give me this orange drink. It wasn't orange juice, but it was really good. And it's kind of salty, a little bit of ting of salt. It wasn't Gatorade. And about the second, third, or fourth time I was there, I'm not sure how many times I was there, probably 2, 3. They told me the drink they give you is Pedialyte. You can get it at the grocery store. And I was like, what? And so when I was experiencing anaphylaxis, I thought it might be attributed to being dehydrated. So I went, and I'm standing in line with the Pedialyte, and the person in line is taking forever, and I can't purchase it. So I'm starting to get really sick because it's hot outside. So luckily there's a fire station right next to the drugstore. I walk out and I call 911. And with 911, I can't get anyone to my place. The 911 process is taking a long time. It didn't seem like they were sending anybody. I'm just talking to people about my condition. I'm telling them, I can't breathe and I'm having problems with my chest being on fire and stuff like that. So I go next door so I'm walking, so I realize I'm next door to the fire station. I walk to the fire station with the 911 on the phone. I knock on a door, and the person answers the door, and he says, yeah, I'm on the phone with 911. Are you the person calling? And I was like, yes, I need to go to the hospital. So anyway, they take me to the hospital. I get to the hospital. But before I get to the hospital, I'm on the ambulance talking to the person. I was like, look, I just rode 36 miles yesterday, and I haven't ridden that many miles in a long time. And at this time, it's probably about at least 8 years since I've done this, since I've ridden any kind of mileage. Maybe even, not 8 years, 6 to 8 years, right? So anyway, and that my immune system is at its lowest because I just rode 36 miles, haven't done it in a long time, and my immune system's not as healthy as it should be, and I'm still recovering from the exercise. And I might be kind of dehydrated because I usually get dehydrated in the summertime when I'm cycling. It's just a long story about my health and what caused my condition, and it turns out I'm going into anaphylaxis, right? So we get to the hospital, and then they give me some kind of medication in the ambulance that kind of calms me down a little bit, and I'm resting in the hospital in ER, and the person, word for word, tells the doctor what's going on, right? And I'm like impressed, surprised. I'm not even really worried about how I'm feeling. I feel safe knowing that they know my condition. So anyway, it turns out that, I ended up with an IV and they treat everything. And now I'm thinking about it, it's probably related to the fact that endurance athletes have issues with the histamine. I've never been allergic to anything before like that. I've never been allergic to shrimp. I grew up most of my life eating shrimp, and it looks like I have a shrimp allergy, right? And it's really confusing to me, and usually you would assume that when someone's allergic to something, they're allergic to it their whole life. And later on, I'm realizing that that's not the case, and a lot of the case centers around the histamine in your body. There are things that you can do to change the fact that you might be allergic to something like shrimp, or antibiotics, or anything of that nature, right? Or pollen, things that we might consider to be allergens that we're gonna face the rest of our life. So shortly after that, a couple years later, I go to a grocery store and I get shrimp soup. I eat the shrimp soup and I realize, wait a minute, I'm allergic to shrimp. And then I didn't have a problem eating the shrimp soup. And I could never explain to people that I'm not allergic to shrimp, even though I did have that one episode. Anyway, this is my story, and I'm thinking how it relates to histamine and copper and people that are endurance athletes or do any type of endurance training. And I'm gonna post some sources of scientific research along with this video to help people if they want to look into it a little bit more. This is what I found so far, and I think it's helping me get a grasp on even some more recent issues I've had. If you've seen any of my previous 2 videos, I talk about histamine intolerance and its role in immune suppression and how it relates to copper, and how copper sometimes is an electrolyte, and how copper is influential in the synthesis of this enzyme called diamine oxidase, all this diamine oxidase, copper, and histamine all play a role in your body. And I think it's very important that people understand, because it ends up affecting your health, right? It ends up affecting, how you respond to vaccinations. It ends up playing a role in how you respond to pollen, right? So not everybody should be allergic to all these things. And if you are allergic, there's probably things in your body that need to change or can change to not make it so dire for some people. There's searches I've done before. Some sources say it's not really that bad. And in my instances of taking antibiotics or eating shrimp or, riding 36 miles, there's been significant issues with me with anaphylaxis. And for me, I thought it was pretty serious. Anyway, that's enough for this video. I'm Schmidtie. I hope you reach your fitness goals, and I'll talk to you next one.